Greetings and welcome to the pod. My name is Mark West, and do you want to do long distance ocean swimming in icy waters? Well, there are a bunch of people out there who do. Ram Barkai is the founder of the International Ice Swimming Association, and they are all about swimming in water less than 5 degrees Celsius. Ram has swum many of the world's toughest swims, including in Antarctica, and holds multiple world records. And with the International Ice Swimming Association, has introduced the Ice Mile as its signature event. And the Ice Mile is 1 mile swum in water of 5 degrees Celsius or less, only wearing a pair of goggles, a cap, and standard swimming cozies. In 2014, they introduced a 1 kilometre ice event, and Ram's ambition is to have ice swimming, possibly the 1 kilometre event, introduced to the Winter Olympics, possibly as soon as 2022. I had a fascinating and very entertaining chat with Ram, so I've left this podcast quite long. I started by asking him what possessed him to want to swim in ice.
I think when I look at my life, some people at the age of 6 want to be a pilot or a doctor, and I'm at the age of 60 and I'm still wondering, what do I want to be when I grow up, So the benefit of that is the life is your oyster, because you don't have to do anything. You're not stuck on anything, and you adapt. So I grew up in the Sea of Galilee, below sea level, in a very hot environment. I always liked water, but never liked cold water. Never been really exposed to cold water, because if I go home now in the winter, the water temperature is between 16 to 17, which is a very nice warm temperature nowadays in Cape Town.
Yep.
We would never get into the water. So when I came back to Cape Town in 1996, I think, because I've been here for a long time, and I started swimming properly, I realized that I have, basically, if I want to swim in the open water, it's the sea. We have very few dams. We have a lot of sea, and the sea is big, rough, and cold. So I think after a few attempts that nearly broke me, but I do have a strong mind, I decided I've got to understand that cold. Fascinates me, because I'd look around and I see other people doing it, and I love perspective, because the best thing to do is look around and you look at people that look like, well, I don't know if they can swim 100 meter. And you chat to them and say, no, I did the English Channel yesterday and I did this and this. Okay, well, it gives you perspective and tells you, well, it's definitely possible. And the question was how. So basically, I adapted. There's nothing. My first step was just to adapt, because I like the ocean. I live by the ocean all my life. It's my preferred medium. Ocean definitely much better than land. So, and then I started with some mates, a few of us that, swimming together. How cold can we go? And then I think I read Lynn Cook's book about swimming to Antarctica and all the cold swims. And although she's bigger than me, I'm quite skinny for a cold water swimmer. I realized that a lot of this is in your mind. Because obviously you have to be fit and certain body fat and physics, whatever. But at the end of the day, cold is very, very mental thing. So the minute something becomes a mental challenge, that's my game, I love mental challenges. And I love it when people say you mustn't do it, or you shouldn't do it, or you can't do it. Because my first question is why. My next question is why not? And my third question is, well, let's give it a go. So I'm very calculated when it comes to risk and very scientific. I studied science. But yeah, and then an opportunity came in 2008 to go to Antarctica. And I asked them, do you mind if I swim there? And interestingly enough, they were very keen. They were adventurous. They just started this tourism to Antarctica, expedition tourism. And there, suddenly I ended up in Antarctica and I swam there. I was shit scared when I swam there. I had no one to refer to in terms of what can happen to me. Bear in mind that the three guys that looked after me, they're all like top-notch polar explorer who's been to the South Pole, North Pole, Greenland a few times, hardcore. But when it came to me taking my kit off and diving into the water of 0 degree with my speedo and swimming, they all looked at each other and said, Ram, what are we going to do if something happens to you and you're like 500 meters into the sea? I mean, you realize we can't get in and get you out. This is really not what we do.
And the closest hospital is a few tens of thousands of kilometers away.
The closest hospital is $500,000, which takes 2 days of medical evacuation. The reality is that we all knew that if anything goes wrong, we're here. We have to sort it out here. We had to hike with crampons in the ice for an hour and a half just to get to where I swam. So just imagine. It was very difficult to get information aside from it's a very personal thing. Be very careful. We don't really recommend it, okay? Which is all the things that you mustn't tell me.
Yeah.
You mustn't tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything was motivating for you.
And there are all sorts of things that I trained before Antarctica. I swam in the cold here every day. I started swimming without a swimming cap, even at 9-10 degrees. Just get in, bite the bullet for the first 5 minutes with ice cream headache until I got used to it, and start pushing distances in very cold water here. Not marathon distances, but, to swim 8 kilometers in 11 degrees without a swimming cap was a challenge.
And that's the tradition, isn't it? Not to wear anything but speedos and goggles and swimming caps optional.
Look, everything is optional. You can take everything off, but you can't put anything on aside from standard speedo.
That's right. There are maximum requirements. Right.
Yeah. So training without a swimming cap is quite an interesting experience because there's a lot of blood vessels and nerves on your skull, so you feel the cold very, very it's very intense sensation, but it's very interesting because it's close to your brain and you kind of train your brain to deal with these things, because every time you jump into ice, the brain register trauma. If you look inside my brain and you see all the little people there running around screaming, hit the red button, trauma, trauma, the whole body goes into a trauma mode. So the more you train, your brain says, "Ooh, I've seen this trauma before. I've seen it actually a few times. That's what we did. That's what we should do." So the body doesn't go into a panic mode and you can start breathing properly and the muscle relax. I've done a lot of training and a lot of research. There's a huge amount of information nowadays. I mean, one of the reasons I started the International Ice Swimming Association was because I wanted to share the information rather than to become another superhero that does stupid things. I thought, there's a lot of people I know that can do it if they really apply their mind to it, and there's a lot to learn. But in Antarctica, everyone around me knew nothing, including the doctor, about what I'm going to do. They only knew that if anything goes wrong, they need to pull me out and make sure I don't die. So we ended up tying a rope to my waist of like 30-meter rope. And Inge, the Norwegian polar guide, walked side of the lake and I had to swim with this rope dragging behind me. So in case I pass out or something, they kind of reel me in and warm me up. In hindsight, it wasn't a difficult swim. I've done many more difficult swims since then. But as swimming, knowing that no one really around you know what you're doing, you're not sure exactly what you're getting into, it was quite a scary experience. Needless to say, I loved it.
Well, I was going to say I can imagine, but I'm not sure I can imagine. I mean, that's so. In terms of the training, then, so there's obviously the mental aspect and getting physically prepared, but the water is still literally trying to freeze your blood. There's a point where you can't train for that. If you spend too long in there, your body temperature is going to drop. How do you fight that? What's the sort of upper limit on how far you can swim?
So you're 100% right. A lot of people come to me and say, "So you don't feel the cold anymore?" Ram doesn't feel the cold. Yeah, they have the image of me, with a big -20 deep freeze for a bedroom, and I go there like a polar bear and just lie on a block of ice and fall asleep. Okay, so as heroic as it sounds, I do feel the cold. I do like my warm bed and a warm fire when I can. The reality is that it doesn't matter what you do, your core body temperature, when you recover, goes back to normal. There's no proof that people that live in the ice have a lower body temperature than normal. They can operate with a lower body temperature for much longer time because the body adapts to the body adapt, basically, but it's always cold.
Yep.
It's always cold to get into the water. It's always hard to get into the water. I am not a great advocate of overtraining in ice for the ice because it is an extreme environment. It's not like running or cycling where you can train to an extent that you can basically run all day, every day at a certain speed and just rest a little bit and pick it up. The cold's going to kill you. It's as simple as that. It's just a matter of time, conservation. It's entropy. You're losing heat to the water, and at some stage, you freeze, and that's it. So your ability to sustain these temperatures is limited as a human. You can be there for 10 minutes, maybe even to an hour. It's been done before. You're pushing your luck. Anything above 30 minutes, you're starting to get into a danger territory. And that's where your physics starting to play a big role, obviously. If you do have body fat or significant body fat, it does allow you to stay a little bit longer. Not much longer, but a little bit longer. If you have the ability, I think my strength is in the ability to generate heat rather than body fat. So as long as I swim, my body can generate heat for long enough for me to take that cold. Otherwise, it is a very extreme and raw sport, as you said. You mustn't train in zero to swim in zero. You should very comfortably train in 9, 10 degrees, 12 degrees to swim in zero. You need to get exposure to colder temperatures for short periods before that, just for your body to understand how to survive that, and for you to learn how to swim in these temperatures, because the ice basically freezes your basically everything from head to toe. You still need to cover distance. You still need to swim.
Yep.
So that's for me. I focus when I tell people about training and preparing yourself for the ice, I focus on that much more than let's see how long you can sit in an ice bath. That's a very different sport, if you can call it sport, to swim, to cover distance, because your muscles basically freeze. You stroke, you can't feel your hands, you can't feel the water, you are frozen. There is significantly less oxygen in your blood because of that. And you need to be able to swim and have a proper stroke. Otherwise, you're not going to cover distance. And if you race, for example, or you want to do a mile, you want to do it in a good time. Because the longer you spend, the less chance you have to actually finish it. So this for me, this is a huge area of learning. How to swim in cold water, how to swim in icy water, all the things that happens to you. Not to fight the cold, but to understand what the ice does to you and to learn how to swim in these extreme conditions.
That's what I was thinking just then. Is there a more efficient stroke in ice swimming than there is in the pool? Like, are you better off doing backstroke or something? I'm making that up, but like, is there a different? Do you swim differently to cover the distance in the ice because you simply can't feel your hands, and it's more efficient to swim a different way? Is it a different sport, do you think, than pool swimming, or do you still try to swim the same way?
Look, swimming, we mostly swim freestyle, especially when we do distance. It's the most efficient stroke. And at the end of the day, it is swimming. I come from an open water swimming background. It is open water swimming. There's no specific different strokes or different tricks. However, the ice has some effect on your body. And if you're not aware of that, you will not be able to swim, or you will swim very slowly. So one of the things, there are many things that happens. Obviously, breathing. Your breathing is tight. So you have to learn how to relax yourself enough so you can breathe normally. Because if you can't breathe properly, you know that as a swimmer, if you can't breathe in the water, you get out or you go under. It's as simple as that. So you have to learn how to relax and breathe, and it takes time. You can't just jump like you do in the pool and sprint. If you start too fast, you won't be able to recover from that. Unlike warm water, where if you start too fast and you get tight, you can release, open your lungs later on. In the ice, once your lungs close, you won't be able to open them. It's over. So breathing is very, very important. Just to learn how to relax and breathe and slowly open up and breathe. The other thing, your extremities basically loses blood flow very quickly. The temperature drops to the environment temperature. So although your core temperature can drop to 35, 34 below, your hands can easily be at 10 degrees because there's no more warm blood going into the hands, and they're starting to equate the temperature of the environment. So when you swim, you have to pull water. Because your muscles freezes and you have no sensation of the water in your fingers or whatever because it's frozen, you have to think about your stroke all the time. Make sure that your hand enter the waters correctly and you pull. Mistake that a lot of people do because they don't feel is that they slide their hand. So the stroke looks perfect, but they slide the hand or they don't pull enough. So they look like they've got a great stroke, but they're moving very slowly because they actually they're stroking the water. They're not pulling through.
Yeah. You're getting no feedback from the water at all. None
Exactly.
of those little micro adjustments you'd be making. Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So you have to think about it all the time. You have to be, obviously, the more keen swimmer, professional swimmer, these kind of things are almost reflexes. So the good swimmer always will be a good swimmer in the ice as well, because they don't even think about this. They've been doing this all their life. It's almost like a reflex. But you have to be aware of that. Other things that happens is that your leg muscles get less blood, and your legs are very heavy. It's a very heavy part of your body. So the legs start sinking, and your position in the water is not efficient, which slows you down a lot. So you have to be aware. It doesn't mean that you have to kick hard, but you have to be aware all the time that if you don't think about it or worry about this, you compromise your position in the water. So you need to activate your core. You need to pull your legs up, and you need to make sure that you have even if it's a 2-beat kick, to just make sure that you break surface. I always kick and think, okay, I broke surface. That means that at least my legs are at the water level. Now I need to make sure that my core is not sinking and I'm not concaving into the water. So that happens a lot. People stop kicking. You see it specifically after people have been in the ice for a while, that they kind of like at 30 degrees. They're moving at 30 degrees. So basic trigonometry, they have a lot of resistance. Other thing that happens is your arm muscles start to freeze. So you are very stiff. Therefore, your stroke gets shorter, and you're not rotating enough. So what I always tell people, that when you get tired, all the time think about long stroke, lengthen. Doesn't matter how cold you get, and you want to contract. So do the opposite, expand. The colder you are, make sure that you have a long stroke and a good pull, because your stroke will shorten significantly, because your whole arm is like, your whole body is tight. You have to think about it. Then there are all sorts of funny things that happens. Your muscles, your mouth muscles and your tongue freeze, basically.
Imagine you don't want to drink water or get water in your goggles, because that'd be bad.
You do drink water, not so much in your goggles, but you do drink water, because what happens is that when that happens also in a long swim, when you get tired, your mouth muscles that very efficiently for a swimmer know when to get air in and when to get air out without drinking water, your facial muscles and your tongue freezes, literally.
Yep.
And I feel it when I suddenly swim, and I feel like, every time I take a breath, some water comes in. And I know that, okay, I'm getting tired. My facial muscles that control the breathing in the water when I swim are not working very well. So you need to start breathing higher. Otherwise, you're going to start drinking water. So, you breathe higher. You basically breathe through the shoulder more if you can, or be aware of that. A lot of other things happens. Your tongue freeze happens to me before, that your tongue basically your tongue is in the ice, in the water. It freezes. So when you breathe, your tongue folds. It doesn't have the power to stay where it should be. So you can bite your tongue sometimes. You don't feel anything, so it's fine.
Yes, you don't feel anything.
But it does hurt.
Yeah, it hurt when you get out.
But it does hurt later on. Don't worry, you don't bite. You don't basically cut your tongue off. But it can happen that you come out and you feel that.
As you start to warm up.
I think it happened to me in Murmansk when I start foaming blood after the swim, and everyone panicked. Then I put my finger in my mouth. I said, this is really sore, the bottom left of my tongue. And a lot of people, when they come out of cold water, they can't talk, or they slur. And that's just because the tongue is frozen. It's a frozen tongue.
Yeah, I want to understand if you start feeling good, then that's a bad thing. It might mean oxygen deprivation or something.
Feeling good is a very interesting definition when you dive into 0-degree water, you know. No one, if anyone tells you I jump into 0-degree water and I feel good, you know, I want to have what they have, you know.
Yeah.
You do feel good after a while. I mean, there is time when you feel extremely alive, but generally, like any extreme raw sport, feeling good is not really part of the exercise. It's part of the post-exercise. You feel really good after, but not during. So you have to learn how to swim and swim well when all the signals that you get are not well. And
Yep.
I sort of adopted or built a mechanism for myself. Everyone's got his own tricks, but I recommend it to others that when I start to think that I'm not feeling great, I'm not that focused, I'm not feeling great in the water, I feel like I'm losing it. I'm like a pilot. I've got a checklist in my mind, and I basically talk to myself, which apparently a lot of open water swimming talk to themselves all the time to make sure that they're okay. And I basically ask myself questions. How's the finger? You know, so I clench my fist, check my stroke. How's my stroke? Okay, my stroke is okay. How's my kicking? Can I kick? Do I know how to kick anymore? Yeah, I can kick. How's my position? How's my breathing? And the last thing I ask myself is sort of, Ram, are you okay? And if the voice coming back saying, no, I'm not, I'm certainly not, I know that I need to start working towards an exit at some stage because it's coming soon. And if the voice coming back, you know, it's really horrible, but you're fine, then you just carry on swimming. And it's amazing how long you can go on thinking that you are in this extreme discomfort, and you come out and you look at your time and you say, wow, actually I swam quite well. I thought I was going to drown, but I actually swam quite well. So you can manage it. You can develop technique, mental and physical, to swim a kilometer and a mile and come out and have done a decent time and survived well, reasonably well, yeah.
And the warm-up process afterwards, I understand that can be kind of dangerous. If you warm up too quickly, all the cold blood or any of that cold blood that's left in your hands can flow in towards your heart and lungs, and that's not necessarily a good thing. You need to warm up slowly.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, you know. It's like, you know, I've got 4 kids, and everyone have kids every day, but no one talks about childbirth and how painful it is. And no one prepares a woman for childbirth, basically, because it's not something you go around and share, you know. You know, guess what I had yesterday? I delivered a baby, and it was the most painful, horrible thing ever happened to me. I never want to do it again. You don't, so you rather not talk about it and talk about the wonderful little baby that came out at the end of it. So in some way, the recovery from ice swim is similar to that. You know, it's in some way it's a horrible and it's a tough process. For me, it's tougher than the swim itself, because there's no positive element to this. You're not swimming, you're not achieving anything. You just have to get your body back to normal, and it can take I'm one of the lucky ones. I recover very fast relatively to other people. And I train myself very hard. For me, the recovery is as much as part of the swim. I train myself to recovery. I learn the recovery. I know what to do. I'm focused. My eyes wide open, and I ride the recovery like the swim is not finished, because I want to get the hell out of that recovery. But basically what happens is that you come out of the water, you don't feel the cold. You don't feel anything. You are 100% numb. You are in some form of a capsule, because you are so, you've got significantly less oxygen in your brain, in your blood. You're so focused. You're so contracted. You have that look in your eye that basically drills through everyone. So you see everything and you see nothing, basically, when you come out. Everything seems to be going fast forward. So people talk too fast. Every movement seems too fast. Your skin is very vulnerable to anything, because it's frozen, basically, you know. And then the body registers that you're warming up. And when your brain registers that you're no longer in a trauma place, the skin sends signal to the brain that it's no longer ice, it's actually warm. The brain starts releasing blood from the core to the extremities. It's called vasodilation. And that's a horrible process, because what happens is that the warm blood, just go through extremities, and it picks up a few blocks of ice on the way back to your heart and to your core. So that mixture of warm blood with icy blood levels down your core body temperature to a lowest. It basically drops your core body temperature very quickly. In a few minutes, it starts dropping significantly. And that has its side effects, which are quite scary sometimes. They're not as dangerous as people think. You got to watch for them. You got to monitor it. You mustn't accelerate it. You should actually slow it down rather than accelerate it in the beginning, because otherwise that after drop, it's not that it's dangerous that you're getting cold, because you are in a warm environment and you'll warm up. It is that drop, that sudden drop can be dangerous. And it takes a while for your body to recalibrate itself to that. And I'll give you an example. When I did, I think I did a shoot for Discovery in Norway, and because it was a Discovery shoot, I had all the gadgets and I had a capsule in my body, and they could take my core body temperature at any given time. So when I finished the swim, my core body temperature was about 35.6, which is not a significant drop from normal. When I went, they put me in the car, and then they took me to a shower. It's a cold shower that slowly you heat up the water. And my core body temperature dropped a degree a minute, just like that. Bang, bang, bang.
Wow.
34, 33, 32. They stopped telling me when it was 30. And I needed, one of the medics needed to hold me because I wasn't that stable standing up. And then you turn a corner and it's not because your body had warmed up, it's because your brain, your thermostat and your brain adjusted to the rapid change in temperature. When the brain adjusts to that, you're starting the real recovery. You are still very cold. So when I came out of the shower and I said, guys, I had enough, I'm fine. I got dry, I wanted to get dressed. I remember demanding a glass of whiskey and the doctor said, not yet. My core body temperature was 33 and a half.
Wow.
It was 2
Yeah.
degrees lower than when I finished the swim, but I was fine. I was very cold, but I was completely coherent. I could talk, I could chirp, I could laugh, have a conversation. I needed some help to get dressed, but that's just because I'm still rigid. I was fine.
Yep.
So there are two processes that happens when you recover is the fact that the core body temperature drops so rapidly. It's dangerous. That's a dangerous part that you have to be watched and have to be monitored, because your body can react to this aggressively, panic basically, the heart or whatever, your brain.
Yep.
And
Some
then
shock.
then it's a shock, basically. It's a dangerous shock. And you mustn't accelerate it. That's when you said you mustn't rush to warm up. You're 100% right. Mistake people do is they jump into a jacuzzi or sauna, rush into a very hot shower. I like to shower, but I give it about 5 minutes. And then I go into the shower and I start the shower in cold water, basically. And slowly increase the temperature just a bit by bit all the time. You never get into a hot shower. I don't like jacuzzi or sauna immediately, because you go straight into a prescribed temperature of 40 degrees or whatever it is. I prefer shower because you can control the temperature. Start cold and bring you up to heat.
I imagine as your nerves start to warm up again, you start to feel things again, it must really hurt. Like your skin must hurt, does it? Especially if it was too hot.
It burns, yeah. So where it really hurts is your hands, your fingers. The tip of your fingers and your toes got a vast amount of concentration of nerves and small blood vessels. This is very painful. So the trick to do it when you go to recovery, to have a bucket, 2 buckets or 1 bucket of cold water. Cold water could be just normal tap cold water. And you stick your feet and your hands in there to stop it recovering too quickly, to stop the nerves and the blood vessels to explode from cold to warm, and that really helps to manage that pain. We learned that in Russia, and it's the best thing to do, to stick your feet and hands in cold water during the recovery. The rest of your body is fine. It's just there's the pain, which lasts about 5 minutes. You take it on the chin, knowing that it's going to be okay. There's nothing you can do about it aside from the pain in other parts, the pain in your private parts. You discover the disadvantage of being circumcised.
Okay.
But
I
it recovers.
don't think doing it nude would be a great idea.
It recovers. Everything recovers. The real, for me, the scary part is the brain, because that after drop cause havoc to your blood pressure, to your focus, and you feel like you are losing control. It's almost like an out of the body experience. I strongly recommend to people, don't lie down. As much as tempting as it is, sit down. Sit down. Keep your eyes open. Don't close your eyes as much as you want to. Just cocoon into the warmth of recovery. Sit up, eyes wide open. Try and look at someone. So if someone recovers you and they look at you, eye contact is quite important, because it gives you a focus. You don't feel like I'm on a trip here, out of control. It's a scary part. And it's all in the eyes. It's all in the eyes. When you look at people recovering, they look at you and they don't see you. You crack a joke and you say well done, and they don't even smile. They just look at you straight through you. And after a while, it can take 10 minutes, can take 50 minutes, you suddenly see the eyes looking at you rather than through you. And the first thing I do, I try and crack a joke. And when I see a smile, I say, okay, Henry is back.
We're good.
Alexander is back.
Yep.
It's fine. They're still very cold and they're still suffering. They're back. And now it's just rewarming. It sounds really tempting, eh? I'm sure you're raring to jump into the ice now.
Yeah, that's first thing tomorrow. I'm not sure where the closest cold water is to me. I think it's up in the Snowy Mountains. I think there's some cold places in Tasmania and Victoria and Australia, but not too many that get that low.
There are very few, yeah. I'm planning to come to Tasmania for a swim because I need to do, we have the Ice 7 where you have to do an ice mile in 7 continents. And so one of them is Oceania. Australia is quite difficult to find accessible place with cold water because it has to be safe enough to get there and swim, and need to get there with a vehicle, a doctor, a boat. So yeah, someone mentioned Tasmania, which sounds very exotic and interesting to do an ice mile in Tasmania. So it's on my bucket list, my to-do list. Come and swim in Tasmania.
Even there, I believe it's up in the mountains because Tasmania is not. I mean, Tasmania is about as south as New Zealand. I think it's not that south.
Yes,
compared to how far things are north. Australia's got some islands down in the Southern Ocean, which are probably pretty cold. But I don't know how you get there.
Well, you can go to New Zealand, but again, it's not very easy to communicate with people and tell them, listen, I want to come to Mount Cook and swim by the glacier there a mile. I need a boat and a doctor, and they think, why on earth would I want to get involved in this stuff, So you kind of have to find like minds, around the world that, and I found it in Antarctica, in Iceland, and in North Pole area. I would say, that sounds awesome. I'd like to be involved in something like this. Come and swim, There's enough mad people out there, plenty, which is wonderful. Yeah. So
when did you set up the International Ice Swimming Association of Mad People?
Frozen Mads, frozen one. That's usually how I start my emails. Dear Mad Frozen Ones. I swam in Antarctica in 2008, and I did 1 kilometer. And when I came back, I knew that I can do more. So a year later, I swam in Lake Zurich with Andrew, my swimming mate, and I wanted to do 3 kilometer. We ended up reducing it to about 2.3 the evening before because we realized that even walking 3 kilometers is long. It was 4 degrees, air was -7, and it was a very tough swim. I mean, after 1.5 kilometers, I felt great, but the last 500-600 meters, I battled with every stroke, and I wasn't in a good shape when I finished it. I couldn't really talk or walk. So I realized so there are some parameters now. 1 kilometer is doable. 2.3 kilometers is pushing it. And also in all my research, I found so many legends about people who done all sorts of swims in crazy places and done also, and I thought by that stage I already had some experience, and we've done some stupid things to realize people that claim that they've done 4 kilometers in 4 degrees or done 10 kilometers in 5 degrees. I said, well, I'd like to establish something and start documenting all of these records, because if someone can do that, in my book, they are. So if someone told me I'm a superhuman, I'm just a normal guy. In my mind, someone who can swim 10 kilometers in 5 degrees has to be physically mutant. So
Yes.
so part of the whole idea was, let's start recording all of these crazy swims. And I wanted to put some challenge in there, and I'm kind of a minimalist, purist, probably part of my attraction to ice. I thought, let's keep it simple, 5 degrees, 1 mile, that's it. No assistant, no nothing. You just got to put your smuggler on, goggles and cap, and swim the distance.
And that's the jewel in the crown, isn't it?
And
The
that was
ice
in
mile.
2009, early 2009. Yeah, that's where the ice mile started. I was surprised how fascinated people still are with that, and people start, the human nature always attract people that come to these sports for the wrong reasons, and I can do bigger and better and faster and longer.
Yep.
And realize it's just a matter of time before the human competition will see how far can I swim before I die. And there's many sports that discover the limits like that, by the way.
Yep.
How high can we go? How deep can we go, etc. Oh, someone died. Okay, well, we realize that this is dangerous. There's probably a limit. Let's see if someone break it. I didn't necessarily want to create a sport where death is a challenge. I'm more like survival is a challenge. So I created the 1 kilometer race where it's a specific distance. It's still a decent distance to swim in icy water. And the competition can be in speed in 1 kilometer rather than let's see who can do the first one to do 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles. Oops, let's see who the first one that died. In touch with no one died yet. So I'm the kind of person that see a barrier or a limit, and I always go to the edge. I'm the one that stand on the ledge, peeping down or to the other side, said, I wonder what's there.
Yep.
That's me. But it doesn't mean that I'd like to jump. I'm curious. And it fascinates me because I know that there's plenty places we can go further than that ledge. But one of the things that I've learned in Antarctica, that a lot of people have a misconception about extreme sportsmen, athletes. They think they are all gung-ho, reckless lunatics. The reality is that if you do any extreme sport, whether it's heli skiing, snowboarding, downhill, polar guys, whatever, free climbing, it comes with a huge amount of learning how to manage the risk.
Yep.
Because otherwise everyone's just going to die very quickly. So to do all of these crazy things, you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to learn every little aspect before you take the next step and the next step and the next step. Okay. So I'm not afraid of, let's go up Mount Everest, but don't be stupid about this. You always, the best part is sitting in the pub with whiskey and talk about it after you want to be there.
Is that the danger? I know that
you don't.
Well, I know that you have a world championship, and there's one next year in Russia, and I've read that you're interested. Like, it'd be fantastic if it became part of the Winter Olympics. But is that a danger if it becomes too popular, or maybe that's the wrong term, too popular? But if it becomes too big, people will do stupid things.
I think it's dangerous. When the car, I actually don't know who invented the car, the first car, but when cars came to become available, although I wasn't there, you can imagine if someone could see the number of cars driving at 100 kilometers an hour or more.
Yep.
If someone looked at it 100 years ago, he would say, if that happens, someone's going to die every minute because they're all driving so fast, so close to each other. How come they all not collide all the time? I'm just giving one example that came to mind. Mistakes happens. I always said I cannot legislate for stupidity. I can put a lot of parameters and everything, and I can put a rule, don't be stupid, but I cannot stop people from being stupid or doing stupid things. Yeah.
Yep.
Like any sport, any extreme sport, accident can happen. Touch wood, we didn't have any, in ice swimming, we didn't have any accident. There are some people that realize that the ice is not for them. Their body doesn't react very well to the ice. Their metabolism, their circulation, physics. But that's normal, Not everyone can run or jump or whatever.
That is an incredible stat that there haven't been any issues or any deaths so far. It must speak to the culture of the sport. People are serious about it, but aren't stupid about it.
Yeah, so from the beginning, when I went for my own swim, I insisted in Antarctica, I insisted that there's a doctor. I actually briefed the polar guide and the doctor about the swim. I said, guys, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to swim from there. We worked out on hand signals and body language and all sorts of parameters to look after me because I can't look after myself really when I'm in the ice.
Yep.
We had a proper procedure. How do I come out of the water? Where do you take me? What do you do with me? What happens if something goes wrong? And when we evolved that, we put a lot of procedure in place. Look, in countries like, the Arctic countries like Russia and Sweden, whatever, where a lot of people go into the ice, they are very well aware of that. But strange enough, the culture of swimming distance in ice water came to Russia from Cape Town.
All right.
So to Poland and a lot of these places, they had one or two lunatic who tried to do some things, but the whole culture of let's swim distances in ice, I'm still fighting to a certain extent with the Winter Swimming Association that doesn't allow longer distances and having rules you're not allowed to submerge the head underwater. So take off the neoprene from your head and put a silicone cap. One silicone cap is enough. So there's still a lot of education, but from the beginning, I think when we did the first swim in Siberia in 0 degree and then in Murmansk, we immediately teamed up that no one swims without someone looking after him. Aside from the infrastructure, someone that look after you all the time. So we've got a second, every swimmer has a second. It's probably significantly more team sport than any other swimming sport because you're going to look after each other. As simple as that. It's not just about speed. It's about something going wrong. And if something going wrong, someone has to jump in, get you out, look after you, know what to do, know you. So the culture of looking after each other is very much part of the sport. Doesn't matter how elite you are, you can swim now, and in 3 hits time, you look after someone else who might be your competition, but your role is to help him from the dressing room to starting till the end, watch him while we swim, make sure that he's okay. So it's very much part of the culture. You're 100% right. But to be honest with you, when we had the first world champ in Murmansk, 2015, and water temperature was 0, air temperature was not too bad. It was about -8. It was snowing, and I had 50 people racing for 1 kilometer. I was extremely relieved when it was over. So now we've got significantly more experience and understanding, but I have been challenged in the beginning many times. Ram, it's just a matter of time before you're going to kill someone. Ram, it's just a matter of time before you're mad. Someone's going to die. Doctors tell me all the time, Ram, it's just a matter of before someone's going to die. I said, well, same thing about Everest, South Pole, uh, anyone who does any extreme sport, these things happen. It's not the objective, but we all know that we are taking risk. It is an extreme sport. But you're 100% right that it is, touch wood, it's a great stat that in 2017 at the World Champ in Burghausen, Germany, we had 120 starters for the 1 kilometer, all in one day, bang, 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 one after the other, coming in, recovery, other ones, doctors. It was like a conveyor belt, and I think the only person that ended up in hospital was someone that didn't wash, I think it was she, I can't remember, didn't wash their goggles properly, and they had some soap residual inside the goggle, and it burned their eyes, which can happen to you in the pool.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, there are people that don't recover as well as the other and require medical attention until they're fully recovered. But it's part of the sport. I'm bracing myself for things can happen. English Channel, I think people die almost every year now. It doesn't stop anyone. They learn from that. Many times it's mistakes rather than sort of hand of God. It's not the reason why I started the sport. Many times people ask me, Ram, have you got a death wish? I said, no, I've got a live wish. You have no idea how alive I feel in the ice and after the ice. It does come at some price, but I'm still healthy and living and pushing it. Yeah, it's price of feeling alive, I don't feel alive on the couch. I feel alive in the water, yeah.
And at the top end, like the world champion Peter Stoichev, he's a former Olympian, pretty quick, former Olympian champion, isn't he? And his time for a kilometre is 12 minutes, so it's a little bit slower than what they might do in the open ocean, but not that much slower. It's a pretty quick time.
Yes, yeah. So what happens now, we're starting to attract faster and faster swimmers, which is natural, because as everyone knows about this. FINA knows about this. The Olympic Committee knows about this. All the Olympic swimmers heard about this. Michael Phelps knows about this. We spoke to him about this. Maybe one day he'll come.
He's too skinny, right? He'd be way too skinny.
I don't think he's so fast. He's probably not going to touch the water. But anyway,
yeah, maybe that's.
He's married now and kids, so maybe it's time to put on some weight. But it has created another section of swimming that allow athletes to excel where they didn't. Top athletes you can't be top athlete in 50 meter, 100 meter, 800 meter, 1500, 10 kilometer ice swimming. So everyone's got the area of being top. So the ice created another place where open water swimmers, because we are talking about more distance rather than sprint, people that maybe have a little bit more padding than the skinny 3-4% body fat the pool swimmer has, they can handle the cold better. So it does allow another area of elite athlete to excel and find a niche. And it also allows athletes like Peter Stoichev and Christoph, and there's few of them around. In the women one, I think the world record is 13:05. In Murmansk, we're going to see sub 13 for women, 100%. And I believe we're going to see sub 12 for men. I just don't know who it's going to be. They done their bit. Peter Stoichev been in 4 Olympic Games. He was the reigning world champion, 25-kilometer marathon swimming. And I invited him to Murmansk and almost forced him to take part in our 25-meter relay with us. He was shit scared to get into the ice.
Yeah. Oh, so he hadn't done it before?
But he got bitten by that bug.
Oh, wow.
Well, in Murmansk, I invited him as a guest. He also became a friend later on, and he came to South Africa before that. So I knew him. I invited him come. He tried it. And then I think in Germany, he tried the 200-meter, the 100-meter, then the 200-meter, and he got the hang of it. He realized you can do it. Yeah, and suddenly he discovered another area where he can be a world champion, you know?
Yeah.
And someone very possibly going to take it away from him in Murmansk, because there's already some fast youngsters that are coming. There's some Olympic swimmers, open water, that I chat to sometime. They're very interested. Their coach wouldn't let them yet get into the ice, so they're waiting for the sunset of their open water Olympic career, open water career, to say, okay, well, let's try the ice. You know, maybe I can. So it will attract. I think at the end of the day, if it gets to the Olympic Games, which I have no doubt, ice swimming going to get into Olympic game in some form or another. FINA probably going to change the rules and hopefully not going to introduce wetsuits. But swimming will get to Winter Olympic game because it's just a no-brainer. It is so exciting to watch and it is so doable.
Is it always open water? Do you ever do it in a pool, or would it always be the 1 kilometre open water?
Actually, the kilometre race has to be in a pool structure. So either a pool, outdoor pool, or a pool cut in the ice, 25-meter, because otherwise you can't compare apples and apples, you know, in open water swimming.
Yep.
So competition in open water do not count for world records. They just, you know, you get your prizes and everything for that, but you can't. But there are other things that we do in open water, but it's still, you don't tumble turn, you don't dive, you can't push more than 5 meters underwater, so you don't disappear. So there are quite a few, and the distance of 1 kilometer probably equal to, 5-kilometer race in open water in terms of what your body takes, you know, probably.
Is that a safety thing, not going underwater?
If not more.
Going underwater for too long, that's a safety thing?
Yeah, because the water is not, many times you basically a pool in the river or in a lake, and you don't want someone to push and you have to wait for the summer to find them somewhere, you know. Right. So the tumble turn is a safety issue because you're not as nearly as much in control, and when you tumble, because your blood distribution is very different to warm water. It's not even at all, you know. It's distributed in a very specific way. If you tumble turn, you can mess up your blood pressure and whatever. So the idea is to stay horizontal for the whole time until you finish. Yep. Don't go underwater. I quite like the diving, but I dive when I do ice miles. Always, I'm tired. I don't care if it's -1. We dive in, straight dry, dive in and swim. But in competition, it's dangerous. There are a lot of people. You don't exactly know what's happening there, and the competition is about speed and safety, and you have a concentration of risk rather than you have one person doing an ice mile where all eyes on one person. So
that makes those times even better. You know, no diving, barely a push off the wall. Those times are incredible.
Yes. Yeah. Diving, but especially tumble turns. You know, if you're a swimmer, pool swimmer, if you do a proper tumble turn and in a 25-meter pool, you do 40 lengths for a kilometer. So you've got 39 turns, a dive in 39 turns. That's a significant time bonus if you do it properly. So, but what's interesting is that the guys learn how to do open water. So the open water technique is improving significantly. People turn and have a very strong push off the wall. So they're not losing as much as one would think. The professional one, someone like Peter Stoichkov, Christoph, they don't lose much on the turn. The amateur athletes probably would lose some time, more time when they turn.
Especially if you're racing in a 25-meter pool.
Yeah.
That's a really big part of the swim. So next year is in Russia. How many countries do you think you'll have represented, and how many athletes?
I don't know how many countries in total, because there will be people that coming to do just a short distances. So, yeah, probably about 30 countries. Even Morocco is training to get some athlete
I read that. Yeah, Morocco
for the Murmansk World Champ. Morocco, I'm doing the ice swim in Lesotho Mountain in June here in South Africa. So I've been approached by swimmers from Ghana who wants to.
That's fantastic.
Fascinated by that. So, Eddie the Eagle or Cool Running, there will be the odd people from remote countries. The core will come from Russia, Great Britain, Germany, Ireland, Holland, Poland, Czech,
places,
from America. It has a massive. It's got a massive growth potential. We are so still in startup mode. A lot of people think that it's big and everything. It's still very much a startup. But I'm not in a rush. It's not Google where I'm there to make billions of dollars. So far, I haven't made a cent, and it's probably going to cost me more.
No, I can't imagine this is a money-making scheme. No, and going to Antarctica is not cheap.
Going to Antarctica is not cheap. Luckily, it doesn't cost me a thing because I'm the expedition leader in organizing it. But I actually, it's a new thing that I would like to start expand into ice swimming adventures. So it's kind of going to Antarctica. It's kind of my thing rather than International Ice Swimming Association event. Although we're going to have a race and everything, but it's me, and I am blown by the demand. I'm taking 38 people to Antarctica in November. 18 of them are going to swim 1 kilometer. We have no idea where we're going to swim, but we have all the logistics and we will find a place to swim. And I've been there twice, so I kind of know what needs to be done. And obviously we have doctors and Zodiac. Every swimmer will have a Zodiac and etc. So it's unbelievable. I think there's already people entering the 2019 one. I think it may become kind of an Everest thing for swimmers, to come back and say, I swam in Antarctica. Proper swim, not a polar deep or
not just jumping in.
Not just jumping in and jumping out. I swam 1 kilometer in Antarctica. This is my time. This is the video clip. This is the pictures. This is the certificate. This is the medal. It's something, you tell your grandchildren and they look at you like, my God, I didn't realize granddad was so, has no marbles left, anything like that. So, but it will be amazing. I can't wait for Antarctica. Antarctica changed my life. I can't explain it in any other words. I can't explain it. You have to go there to understand Antarctica. It's literally like going to another planet. It's so remote and hostile and everything. It's one of these things. It's expensive, but it's not something people do on a regular basis. It's something that people may do once in a lifetime, and most people that go, amazingly, not going by themselves. As expensive as it is, the partner, whether it's the husband or the wife or the partner, say, well, you're not going to Antarctica on your own.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go find the money underneath the other mattress, and here we go. And I'll tell you one thing, for 99, I think it will blow everyone's mind. It's not for everyone. It is remote. It's extreme. There are no shopping malls. There's no TV. There's no... It is so remote, so hostile, so different. For me, it blew my mind and I fell in love with it. I hope that the people that come there going to do that to them as well. And if it will, it's worth every penny spent. This is why I'm going the third time and next year the fourth time. And I told my kids that when I have enough money, I'm taking my 4 kids to Antarctica because
that will change their lives.
Much more exciting than Las Vegas to me. Yeah.
Do they swim as well, or do they think you're nuts?
First of all, they think I'm nuts, but they're used to it. So they kind of, I think tomorrow we're swimming around Cape Point. Some of us about 10-kilometer, Cape of Good Hope. My kids usually find out about this on Facebook. Say, "Oh, Dad, I heard you done this. Oh, Dad, I heard you done this. Where are you going, Dad? I'm going to Iceland for a swim." Okay. It's they kind of got used to me traveling around the world. I try and drag them around with me. And they love it just to maybe get the feel for my passion.
Yeah.
And they love nature. None of them is a swimmer. They all can swim and love water, but none of them is a swimmer. They all got their own sport, one horses, one is a mountain trail runner, one rowing, the other one is hockey. But I started at the age of 40, so no rush.
Yeah. Have you done all of your long distance swimming since 40, or did you do open water swimming before that?
Look, I grew up by the water, so I was waterproof for years.
Yep.
In terms of, it was a lake, and I used to do scuba diving, windsurfing, sailing. So all of these things that you've got to be very comfortable in the water, and you have to swim sometimes distances. But I wasn't a swimmer. The first time I got into a pool was in Hong Kong. I was working in Hong Kong because I damaged my 2 knees, and I thought, okay, let's do swimming. I hated it. I could barely do 2 laps. Then I came to South Africa. I was 40 years old, and I joined Master Swimming. It's the first time in my life that I trained in a squad, basically had a training session. And I think probably 41, probably I did my first open water swim ever.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of got used to it. That every swim I do now, I'm the oldest man that does that. Swam 5 kilometers this morning. Tomorrow we have a Cape Point, probably about 8-9 kilometer group of us. It's one of these sports that, if you're careful, you can do until the day you go, And if I can, I will.
Well, there are men and women in their 90s doing ocean swims through Sydney in summer. I think you certainly wouldn't be old for Sydney ocean swims. So it's a very strong competitive age group. Maybe not the 90s so much, but they do exist. But certainly around 60.
Are you serious? Because my strategy was to carry on swimming. I'm kind of used to get gold medals now because not many in my age group. So you're saying that the 80 to 90 is a very competitive age group in Australia. I'm not coming there.
There's a few. Well,
no, I know. There's a lot of strong Australian swimmers. I know. It's a lot of competition between South African and Australian swimmers, yeah.
And I'm only a couple of years off 40, so I guess that means I need to start thinking about doing an ice swim at some point.
No rush.
No rush. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I tell people, look, if you're a very good swimmer, good athlete, you want another tick on your belt, a notch on your belt, sorry, train, do an ice swim, get it over and done with and move on. I never swam for the medals or the notch on my belts, or I actually really love swimming, as simple as that,
Yep.
It's what I really enjoy doing. And so if you're a swimmer, I say, no rush. Get into it. Get into the cold water, learn the cold water. Let the ice call you rather than come there, rah, I can do it. Because I've seen some people, very strong swimmers, much stronger than me, that came into the ice and it broke them.
Yeah.
They done the English Channel, North Channel, and they done amazing swim, but they came to the ice and it broke them because they came to prove something. You can't prove anything to the ice. The ice always win. It's simple as
Yep.
that. Okay, so you gotta respect the ice. You're gonna learn how to wait. Yeah, get into the cold and wait for the ice to call you. And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and learn how to do that. Baby steps. So you also want it to be a positive experience rather than I've done that. Never ever want to put my toe in anything below 16 ever again. Because why? Why? This is not. I didn't invent or created that sport for people who seek punishment. There are much more established institutions that offer these kind of things.
Yes, that's right. You can find them if you need to.
If you're desperate, you can find them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks very much for joining us on this edition of the pod, and thanks very much to Ram Barkai, founder of the International Ice Swimming Association, for taking so much time to chat to me. That was pretty cool. If you'd like any more information on anything that you heard today, get over to our website at www.thepodpodcast.net. That's www.thepodpodcast.net. And if you do decide to go and swim in the ice or do an ice mile, please let me know. Maybe one day I'll join you. Maybe.